Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys for coming out tonight to this iteration, which I believe is episode number 12 of the SquadOps 4 Ops 1 Couch podcast. I'm your host, Captain Morgan, with your co-host, Ozzy Wookie. May have some others joining us tonight, but I believe Frost is going to be off for the evening. He's got some family commitments, and he may even be traveling at this point. I'm not sure. I know he was planning on going to Europe soon, so... But that all being said, we are joined tonight by our friend here, Slay3K. Slay, you want to say hello, introduce yourself to the people?
What's up, guys? I'm Slay, content creator and I guess squad gamer. Thank you guys for having me here. I appreciate it very much.
No problem. Thank you for coming on and letting us pick your brain about the game that we all love.
Yeah.
Let me get a couple of announcements out of the way, and then we'll shoot right into this interview. Tomorrow we've got two events going on. We've got Operation Scythe at 1:45 Eastern Time. We have the public server takeover at 14:30. I'm sorry, 16:30. We have the FTL course on Sunday the 29th. And then on Wednesday the 2nd, we have Tunnel Rats, which has been revamped and redone to provide a differing experience. So if you guys want to check those out, go to the website, squadops.gg. Also, I have heard from Slay that you have an event that you guys are hosting every Friday, and you're
Wait,
like to
not
get
every
some
Friday.
Of our, okay, not every Friday.
Periodic. It's scheduled. Yeah, sorry, I should have.
Okay. Sorry.
You're
Putting
fine.
words in your mouth. My bad.
People would love to have it every Friday. I cannot commit to every Friday. But yeah, we have a Friday Night Fights event that comes up, and we'll be doing another one probably in the next month and a half or so.
Cool. Okay. So where would they go to check that out? Is there
they can check it more out. Yeah, in the unnamed Discord. I usually post about it on my YouTube as well, Slay3K, and it's usually also mentioned in the Squad official Discord and some of the competitive spots like Squad Comp Discord, Squad Esports, stuff like that. But it's just an opportunity to get some of the North American community together and try to play some fun games with Squad.
Gotcha. Well, Jamie will get right on that. Or sorry, legally distinct Jamie.
Legally
get right on that, and he'll post it in the Twitch chat for everybody.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So that being said, what brought you to Squad, man? Like that's the question we typically ask guys like yourself. You know, what brought you to Squad? What brings you to this kind of niche game? It's not, Go ahead.
Yeah, I was a Battlefield 1942 fan way back. What was that? Around 2004, I think is when I picked that up. 2005, 2006. That's all I was playing, and I really enjoyed some of the simplicity behind the old Battlefield games, Battlefield 2 even as well. And over time, Battlefield kind of changed. Call of Duty was a good fill in there, but never was like the full sort of combined arms that I enjoyed from Battlefield. And one day I played, I think, Arma 3, pretty heavily modded, me and a friend just goofing off. And then he was like, you should play Squad sometime. I've only played it one time, but it's really fun. And then I got on, I bought it. It was on a sale, I think. And I was like, all right, we'll just give it a shot. And I played it once or twice. And I was like, this is interesting. It kind of reminds me of, it just sent me back, like the feeling I get more so than necessarily the gameplay and stuff like that. Sent me back to the old Battlefield days. And it was the first time I guess I'd played a game that kind of brought me pretty close to the fun that I had playing Battlefield.
Gotcha.
And again, old school Battlefield for clarity. But yeah, and then it just, after that, man, I was hooked. So this would have been, was that 2019, 2020-ish, is when I started playing. And I took actually a year away from it almost, just because of other stuff going on, other commitments. And then I dove back in, and now here we are a couple years later, still playing it. But it's just the only game that I've played in recent memory that gives me the same feeling I had when I played some of those older Battlefields that had some simplicity in the gameplay while also being very complex. And some of it's just the adrenaline rush when you get into a good fight, and there's some strategy being used, or And then of course the combined arms aspect of it, which you don't get with something like Call of Duty necessarily. So yeah, it's had me hooked for a while now.
Gotcha. And you've been playing Squad for 3 years or so, 2 or
Yeah,
3 years.
3 to 4 in total. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. With the Sorry, my daughter's asking a question, so
You're fine.
her and I have a play that we're participating in,
Okay.
and we each have our own parts. So
Oh.
she had to take my lines to go prepare herself. Anyway,
Well,
so
tell
the
them what
only
you're playing.
thing I've seen a number of your videos, and I was watching them before this interview, like going back and rewatching some of them. The only thing that I disagree with you on is, for the most part, is the ranking structure that you have for your favorite.
Join the club, man.
Yeah, no,
Everybody's mad about that.
I don't.
Yeah, I
disagree
mean,
with
I'm
you.
so glad because I'm there as well. Like Australia is B. Oh, like motherfucker.
The only one that I was like, okay, what is this guy thinking? Is the British faction being all the way at the bottom? They have literally the best tank in the game.
Okay.
Literally the best tank in the game. Aside from that, I don't disagree.
That's all you disagree with, really?
Nah.
Honestly, man,
Nah,
you've got
Wow.
a lot of. Well, listen, Australia lost to emus, so they deserve B tier. Okay, we'll just leave it there.
Yeah, but he comes out
Amen,
being
amen.
like, yeah, great weapon, good vehicles, different scopes. B. Like, I'm sorry, what? Nothing but brains, and you still put us in fucking B?
Okay. This is the first time I've done a tier list, and there will likely be more tier lists just because it certainly brings on some conversation. It's funny because this video has been out 6 months and I still get comments like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, dude. And I say it's not a power thing. It's not like who the best faction is. It's just this is just kind of my opinion. So don't get too, But yeah, mainly I usually get yelled at about insurgents being C. That's usually the most common thing I hear. And sometimes the militia. Some people think that should be higher, maybe like A or S, I just, man, I have probably the most fun with the US, Russia, and WPMC.
Sure.
And I think, you have obviously your conventional ones, and you have a very sort of odd one being WPMC in there too, that just like the gunplay and the allotment of weapons you have access to is just kind of entertaining. I just thought from the British perspective, like they need a little bit of love. They just need a little bit of love because the Warriors are tanks, dude. They are monsters. But man, if they could just get like a little extra something, I missed the CTAS.
Yeah. The problem with the Warriors is they only have the one variant, and I don't ask me to remember which numbers are which, but they only have the one variant that has a belt. Everything else is magazines. So you end up firing 25 rounds. You've got to reload. The whole time you're reloading, you're just getting pounded by BMPs and whatever.
Yeah.
The only thing I would tell you to do a little differently, if like you want to think about the militia and the INS thing a little bit differently, you gotta embrace your inner rat.
Oh yeah,
just gotta embrace your inner rat with those guys. And it, like, their T-62 tank on Al Basra, I have taken out USMC side, right? So we're USMC versus INS. So I've taken out the same tank, 2 Abrams and 3 LAVs, all within the span of about 15 minutes.
Yep.
And we ended the round with a T-62 tank being perfectly fine. It is an underpowered machine for sure, but it is a lot of fun. You just got to embrace that little rat, just rat tendencies.
Diving into the play the asymmetrical factions kind of asymmetrically.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think I like my I don't know what it is. Like the insurgents have never really, like, I can enjoy playing them. I just don't, they don't fit, I guess, normally how I like to play.
That's fair.
And then I guess the question is, how do I like to play? And that's a tough thing for me to answer too. But it's just insurgents are fun, like on that random invasion layer. You know, they can be fun if you have the right group of people with you and stuff like that. And they have so many tools, just like the militia has so many tools to use and stuff like that. Like I really love the militia on invasion. Like if I'm playing the militia, that's dude, sign me up for defensive invasion. Let's build, let's have some fun and see how it goes. But yeah, I just something about some of the conventional things, some of the conventional factions, especially that I have like through S and A. Just, that's tends to be where I have probably the most fun in gameplay. Those.
Sure. That's fair.
Just wait.
What are you thinking about?
Just wait till I do the map tier list. I'm really excited to hear opinions on my map tier list. That'll probably be the next one.
The map stuff is so subjective though, because they've changed the dynamics of the maps with, and it's hard to rank the maps without putting the factions to the maps as well. Because some of those maps are just like, okay, well, why would I want to play WPMC on this map? Why wouldn't I just take, U.S. Army or whatever? And then other maps, it's just like, okay, well, this is great for every faction on here. It doesn't have like a select thing that you have to fit it with. I don't know. You'll have to figure out how to do that one properly, because I've watched a lot of map ranking lists for Squad, and I don't think anybody's actually sat down and taken the time to like explain that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I think Fallujah always becomes the most contentious, where people either like, or they're like, I will set the world on fire instead. Like, okay, relax.
We just had Fallujah for our Friday Night Fights event, and it was a very polarizing like experience in terms of the feedback we kind of got on that map. Because like somebody, I think someone kind of referenced it as a small infantry map, and I'm like, but y'all had like 3 BTRs and 3 LAV. Like it's a urban environment, but it's not just a small infantry map. Like I have a hard time likening it to that. But that is one that tends to get people on polar opposite sides in terms of their opinion on it. But I also think that there's some of those maps like, Korra and a few other ones that don't get played maybe as much, that actually can have a lot of value. Sometimes it's just, to your point, picking the right faction. Or just embracing whatever you got and working with it, which I tend to think is often a difficult thing for especially newer players to fully grasp, is like, hey, it's not always going to be a 50-50 fight. Dude, you have to lean into whatever you got. And, like the T-62, it's like, that's what you have. So figure it out. You got to play differently. You can't play like it's an Abrams.
Well, and it's not like that particular tank is, speaking of playing to the strengths, that particular tank is not a stand-up fighter. You're not going to sit there and duke it out with another tank. But you got a ton of anti-infantry options. You've got frag rounds, you've got HE rounds, the AP's there.
Yep.
You get 25 rounds of that, but you get 50 rounds of anti-infantry. Focus on the anti-infantry. Make a big dent there.
Yep.
If you had to pick a favorite map right now, what would your favorite map be? Gun to your head, Jamie, send in the assassins.
It's going to be a basic one, because it's one of those that I just like. I typically have a good time on one of these. It's I don't know. People are going to be like, oh, that's basic. That's simple. And it's somewhere between Yerifka and Goro, which I think a lot of people would say.
Yeah.
But they make the most sense to me in the game. Yerifka almost a little bit more right now, based on its like layout of objectives, minus like the Shevchenko far west layer, which is not my favorite. I like it more East Coast, or kind of down the middle.
Center.
Yeah, center lane is just so much fun. If you have 2 balanced teams, man, like if it's Mogi, or if it's on the other side a little bit, like closer to Stepney, or just right down the middle, it's just, there can be some really fun fights there. Goro, again, kind of the same thing, except that you can get some. I hate the I don't remember which RAS it is. The one that goes, it's southeast spawn, northwest spawn, and it can go all the way across the south and then north. And then like
it's the L-shaped thing, or
and it's lumberyard
north and then goes south.
Like lumberyard is the middle point. It's like, dude, if you're not there first, you're not getting there. Like it's just it could be awful, and that kind of bores me. But there's a lot of there's a lot of fun, I think, especially like in Neva, and when you sometimes have those two objectives, kind of like Hilltop and Neva, and fighting that out as infantry and stuff like that can be a ton of fun. And there can be some really entertaining firefights in that area of the map. So I would say those two, just because there's a nice balance to them overall, typically.
Had you played? So they changed the variant up when they did the last. Speaking of the UE5 update, when they did the prior update, which is 4.27, I think is the UE update. 4.27, and then they're going to, or is it 4.26? Then they went to 4.27. Now they're going to 5. Whatever.
Yeah, so 4.27 was the engine the last engine upgrade I think they did.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. So that engine update change that they did there, they actually did a true randomization of the points. And so what we had before was, if you knew where the first point was, you would know where the second point was. It was not truly random. And so it made it a lot easier to like plan and strategize. What are your thoughts on that's a big change for people. What are your thoughts on things like that changing? I'm just using that as an example.
I think what I still see is there's no way to like ban like squad maps, right? Squad lanes, any of that. There's no way to ban that. But I think there's a benefit to that existing, and that is that a player with 100 hours can understand what they're walking into or what they're advancing through, that a player with 5,000 hours no longer has to open up the squad maps for, right? It helps balance the game a little bit, because the person with 5,000 hours is going to try to ram it down your throat because they're going to know your objective before you do. Right. So knowing that exists, my opinion at this point, having played the game as much as I have, is we just need more options for POIs as it progresses, because I don't think it's not random. Like, it is, but it's not, because there's still some layers where it's like, I know at the first point where the middle objective is, whereas the other team has to capture 3. I mean, I played that the other night on maybe Goose Bay, where it's like, someone in my truck was like, hey, we should probably stall here because they're going to beat us. And I'm like, they don't know the middle objective for another cap. Like, we're good. And if we run into anything, it's not going to be everybody. It's going to be a scout, or something like that, trying to figure out where we're going. And that, to me, can create a lot of imbalance with regards to your typical pub match. You know what I mean? So what I would like to see is sort of a more truly randomization, especially let's say after the first cap, and it's like, these are all the objectives we typically know it could go, but let's maybe lengthen some of those options of like where they have to go. I like the idea that it follows lanes, but I just feel like sometimes it could go east to center lane, right? Like, can we skip that lane occasionally? Can we see how that plays out? Is that too disruptive to the players, or does that make it a little bit more of a challenge to strategize around that option? Like, I don't know. My opinion is that we need more POIs that make sense, instead of having that one cap that's just like, this is going to turn into a 1-hour brawl just because it's in a bad spot that you can't flank, you can't do a lot with.
The original concept for them behind the lanes was to actually, it was for tournament purposes, right? Yeah. So when comp teams were practicing, they knew, okay, we have east lane, west lane, center lane, whatever. I think in a pub match, it makes sense, and I've talked about this before with friends. It's each of those maps needs to have 30 POIs, if not more, and you should have to sometimes go from the north side all the way to the south side, back to the center, because the battle space changes. I mean, that's the reality of the situation, and you never really know what you're going to be fighting over.
I think it's gotten dull because it's, to some extent, because it tends to be like, if it's going to go to Lumberyard and Goro, it's just going to Lumberyard and Goro,
right?
And
that's
it's
where
like,
you'll be fighting it out, right?
Yeah, and the problem is that there's no way for, if one team gets there and covers it effectively, there's no flank. The only thing they can do is go all the way north, try to cut you off from getting there, and then they have to close in, and that takes, I mean, how long if you're not? And then if you got a couple squad leads that have no clue, you're blowing tickets, and that's, at the end of the day,
45 minutes into the game.
Yeah, you know, that one guy that just says, I'm doing an IFV rush, like, mech in, here we go, baby, right into a T-72, or whatever. Like, I agree. I think there needs to be more POIs that are accepted. The lane system, I think, is good, but if we could like bend the rules a little bit and just have those occasional objectives that kind of push in a certain direction just to create more variety. Because like I really think Goro and Yeho, as much as I love those maps, are in the biggest need of sort of refreshing because they're played the most.
Mestia was one of those for me as well, because and they did change it. So they used to actually have an objective that was inside the tunnel system.
Yep.
And if you're on Invasion or even AS, whoever makes it to that tunnel system, they're going to hold it for the rest of the map. Like it's impossible to get in there. You can't artillery strike it. You know, on the Invasion side, basically, your goal was to get to that cap point as quickly as possible so you'd have the maximized bodies. And even if you had 400 bodies by the time you got there, and you got medics that are constantly rotating and picking people up, you just can't throw enough hand grenades or shovel down enough, you know, massive barriers to make a difference. And then when the artillery strike, if you did get that, which a lot of the layers, they took the commander actions out. But prior to that, even with having the artillery strike on that point, it's 50 meters under the earth. Like it doesn't do anything. You get the outside bunkers, but they just have the inside bunkers that are built up. Now they don't have
solution a mob calling.
Probably, yeah. Maybe a little too on the nose there, but yeah.
Topical.
I've always enjoyed Lashkar Valley. That's still my favorite map. But it's not one that people want to play. So, you know, I don't ever get to play it.
Funny you say that. We did I referenced our Friday Night Fights thing again. We did a Lashkar Valley layer because I played one, and it's one of those maps that again, if it goes east layer or west layer, you're in for some driving, some terrain, which I hope that with UE5 will be something that like is a little bit more acceptable in terms of how the vehicles perform on it. That will make Lashkar more viable. But I played in a pub match one day, and it was Lashkar, and I think it was MEA versus Canada, or was it Australia? Multiple LAVs versus BMPs. And it turned out to be a lot of fun. It was the center lane. And my theory is like you got to take those two hills on either the west or the east, right where it splits. You know, if you own those hills, you control that middle layer. And that's what, like, my squad was on the east hill, and we had a hat sent up there. It was awesome. It was a fun round. We did that again, basically in Friday Night Fights. Similar result, you know, what the team that owned the hills finally won. And so I gained a lot of respect for Lashkar for how you can play that, especially that mid lane. I think that map will appeal to a lot more people, though, like I said, with the vehicle physics changes, because I think it lends itself to squad very well with combined arms and stuff. It needs your vehicle can't get stuck on every rock.
I think it'll be a boon in a lot of ways. I think that this will probably end up being a slight armor combat overhaul for them as well. The interesting thing for me with UE5 is just the visual updates, and it's going to, in my opinion, it's going to really cut out a lot of people that were playing it before. You know, gone are the days of being able to play. Child, if you're going to come in here, just stand up. It's fine. Just try to avoid being
a solid snake.
Yeah, look out! It's the assassins.
Yeah, exactly.
I was looking for the cardboard box.
No, I've lost where I just was at. That was extremely distracting.
Talking about Unreal 5 and the sort of a vehicle overhaul.
But I think the vehicle overhaul is great. But I think much like the infantry overhaul, it may push some people out because gone are the days of being able to use a 1080 Ti to play the game.
Yeah.
I think the minimum spec now is going to be a 2060, which is kind of crazy.
I think it's a 1060 was minimum. Was it 1060 was minimum at like bare bones, and then but recommended was I think a 2060. I've been into CPT stuff, and I've been looking at it for a little bit now, and then I've participated in several of the play tests, the open play tests, not all of them, but it's like this weird thing from a developer perspective, because I think on for them, you know, and I look at it this way too, is like at some point, if we want all these beautiful things to come to Squad, if we want, people want factions, people want that other vehicle or improved whatever, it's like I get that at some point we have to make some sort of transition. It's just, I think the scary part is like how you do that in a way that is conducive to maintaining as many people. But I think eventually, like, people are going to get left out because they have to make that change. I don't know how you continue to do, because what I know is that they continue to change. If they keep updating Unreal 4, it's like once 4.27 released, my frames dropped. Like, hitching was worse. Mm-hmm. So here we are, and it's like, okay, guys, we could have this shiny stuff, but this is the cost, right? Is we have to change engines, and performance could be different for everybody. And it's like, at some point, I think you gotta flip the switch. But so I kind of get it from a business perspective too, because there's stuff that I know that they want to add. They want to continue to build on this game, and that's great that we're not, the alternative is we have to wait and buy a brand new game, right? That's in Unreal 5. Yeah. So it's like you gotta pick something. And my hope is that the Unreal 5 thing can continue to get polished and get to a point where it's stable for as many people as possible. I know it's going to suck for folks. I mean, I have a 3090, and the first couple playtests I was in, I was like, oh God, like what are we, what's happening? And then the more I've seen it and some of the kind of conversations that have come out of it, and it's like, okay, we're starting to get somewhere with those conversations. I mean, I think the biggest thing right now is picture-in-picture scopes. I still lose 15 frames when I ADS.
It's unfortunate that's kind of, with the way that they have it coded, there's not any way to fix it.
Yes. It's one of those, like, in retrospect, I'm like, I think what question that I'd love to ask Offworld one day, or somebody, is just like, when you were doing picture-in-picture scopes, had you started looking at UE5? And like, not to question necessarily, but to understand the progression from Infantry Combat Overhaul to Unreal 5 from a developer standpoint, and like how that, like, did you guys have the beginning and end of what you thought it was going to be at that point, or did the UE5 thing come up after Infantry Combat Overhaul? Because that's where picture-in-picture scope showed up, and now you can see it now, and they've kind of already been talking about, like, this is the difficult thing. I mean, they just posted a fireside chat on Twitter a couple days ago, like, this has been hard to fix,
right?
Because of how it has to render. And that is like, if you watch any of the, pretty much any video I've done referencing UE5, it's like, this is still an issue. Because at the end of the day, what are we? We're an FPS. Like, everybody has to do FPS stuff. You can get in a tank, you blow up, guess what? You're playing an FPS for the next 15 minutes,
No, I'm just disconnecting.
Yeah, I'm sitting in Maine, dude.
Everyone needs an ADS. Yeah. At no point can you play the game without.
Yeah. It's been an interesting thing to watch it develop. I mean, I was fortunate enough to get to see some early looks at the UE5 through playtesting, and it's crazy how far that's come. I've shared just a couple of clips, I think, that I've been allowed to in some of my videos, and just seeing how far it's progressed and developed into open playtesting is impressive. I mean, the end of the day, I was on Narva one day playing, right before, I think, the first or second playtest, and I was on Narva in live version of Squad, and this thing was hitching so bad, and I was getting 50 frames. And it's like, dude, I'm like right next to downtown. I can't aim at it. It's just like all over the place. And I was so frustrated. And I go and I play a UE5, and I have 60 frames consistently until I ADS. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, so I can play this without hitching. But if I play the live version, I'm hitching and I'm losing frames. It's like, it's gotten to the point now where UE5 plays typically better from like a gameplay. Like, it's smoother. There's less hitching. But again, ADSing is still that area of like, this has to be better. This has to get improved, because it's just not. And I even did it with the performance option on, where everything was blacked out, which was like an experience.
The troublesome thing with the way that they have done the picture-in-picture is they haven't done it like, if you take a look at Arma 3 or Forger, the way that they have done their picture-in-picture is they have actually, that image is always overlaid on the screen.
Okay.
So if you were to, manipulate your head and look down the optic, you'll see the screen from the optic on your actual play. So it's just a floating picture that goes with you all the time. That's why there's no frame drop.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just on. So whatever frames you're going to get is what you get, and then all you do is you're manipulating that process up to your character's visual line, and then you're engaging the target, and then coming back down. Okay. With Squad, that picture-in-picture turns on every time you hit your
interesting.
Right
button.
Yeah.
It brings the gun up, and you'll notice. I notice it mostly on like the mod or the Carl Gustav.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll bring the thing up, and it's such a larger picture compared to an ACOG or something like that. You bring it up, and I'll get about to here, and I'm shouldering the thing, and then I go down to like 6 frames, and then it's like tick, 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 black screen. Okay, all of a sudden the the lens is there.
It's calling it. It's calling the picture-in-picture.
Right.
And that's,
okay. So one way that they could do something to fix it would be to turn it on all the time. But when we tested that previously, your average player was getting like 30 frames. Down from 50.
Because then you're consistently sitting at that 50 or whatever you have basically through the scope, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it was frustrating to see it kind of work that way, but it is what it is. One of the things that I think that they tried to do a little bit differently is they tried to make the optics a lot more organic. So when you're looking through the ACOG in Squad, it actually looks, I don't know if you've ever shot through an ACOG, but it looks pretty much point on what it looks like looking through an ACOG. Versus if you use an ACOG in Arma 3, it's just like a flat plane representation of what it looks like.
Yeah.
So they're sacrificing maybe some frames for that beauty aspect, which I think is it's nice.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, the ACOGs and stuff in that as well are modded, so it's like this isn't
right. The modders doing whatever they can do. Right.
Yeah. I just I don't know, man. I wonder, like, again, I wish I could know that timeline of like sort of the progression and development around that, because I feel I would love to know if there's some consideration of like, oh man, if you could go back now to the infantry combat overhaul, what would you change? Given that was, obviously probably one of the most contentious thing in the last couple of years, obviously, with regards to the player base. And then how it's now affecting Unreal 5 is just so interesting to me, because it's like that was one checkbox that they, we did, and now we're here at a point where it's like this, whatever happens with 9.0 is the next, as they've said, 10 years of Squad or whatever, right? Every update moving forward has, this is ingrained, and the most fundamental aspect of the game is now tied to an update we did 2 years ago that again has been contentious to begin with. And there's this one aspect of it being picture-in-picture, which is, causing issues in a new engine. It's kind of just an interesting conversation topic. And in my comments, it tends to still be an interesting conversation topic.
I'm actually on the side of infantry overhaul. I loved it. I was tits.
I've never really had I had my concerns about it in playtesting because of frame drop and stuff like that, and then I grew to be fine with it. I think there are situations where sometimes I wish it was a little bit this or a little bit that. I think some scenario suppression feels really aggressive, and sometimes I have those silly gunfights where two guys are sitting down the road from each other, and it's just like, bro, just hit me.
I think
let's just get it over with.
ICO is great for infantry on infantry combat. It really tilted the armor.
Yeah.
To the armor side.
It did. Yeah.
Like a lot. It's hard. It's a lot harder now to play infantry against anything like a BTR. Suppression is insane, and
but I mean, like, I'm still on the side of it because it's like, oh no, a vehicle should be threatening. It gets a bit crazy in the urban maps. Like Fallujah is a great example, where it's like these vehicles are deadly, but they're only deadly when they're on the street, right? You rat yourself into a house. You're like, oh, okay, cool. As long as I don't sink a HE shell into it, you're fine.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like an LMG or an HMG or whatever should have an impression. Like you shouldn't be able to just poke your head out and shoot the guy in the head that's operating, and if he's like suppressing you. I think there are valuable aspects of what they've added. There's just those moments where I'm like, yeah.
And it makes the dudes who role play Jamshed of like, all right, sweet, these guys are good.
Mashallah.
Yeah.
One of the more frustrating things with that infantry combat overhaul for me was the degradation of the automatic rifleman and the machine gunner.
Mm-hmm.
They reduced the accuracy down to something that's like 3 MOA, and then they want you to achieve accuracy by volume, and they took away the ability to hip fire with that thing, which is dumb.
That's not a kit I run, but like I think one of the first times I picked it up, and I'm just like shooting. I'm like, how do you guys use this?
You go to the toes, you go to the head. It's just like, well, I guess it'll land somewhere in the middle there. Yeah.
I had a couple buddies that was like their kit, man, and they transitioned to other kits because it's just like, I like the way.
Yeah.
If we're playing aggressively, like this isn't ideal for me unless we're really going to slow things down, and it's like you can't always do that in a pub.
Even like
GPMG kits need more love. They just need more bullets. I hate the magazine size. Just like give me a little bit more, please.
Even slowing things down, though, one of the frustrating things with slowing it down is you get it set up on an Overwatch point, right? And you're covering your buddies going in, you're covering a lane of fire, whatever. You'll start engaging, and then you'll get hit by a marksman that's a kilometer away that has a better optic than you do, that has an accurate weapon to be able to shoot you, and then you go to turn your gun to him, and you're putting out 950 rounds a minute with a saw, but somehow you lose all accuracy over distance, and you end up firing and dusting the entire area around him. He gets suppressed, but he just goes to the next rock, waits for you to stop shooting at you, and then hits you again. And it's just this cat and mouse game. It just doesn't. The way that it was before, prior to the ICO update with the AR, I think they did a really good thing with adjusting the suppression and adding some effects with that. That was great. But you've effectively reduced that kit to, an anemic Somalian could probably do a better job of operating an M249 than the character model in Squad right now.
Yeah.
But anyway,
my favorite was
my big beef with the ICO.
The MG3 used to be my favorite, especially with like the L cannon on top. You can't use it. Even bipoded, it has so much recoil now that you can't even look through the sight.
Yeah, that also seems like a kit that they've like tweaked a little bit. I don't know if they did that in what was it 8.2, where they made some adjustments to it and the weapon family stuff. It just seems like that set of kits or whatever is just like sort of occasionally getting like a knob adjustment. Yeah. Hopefully we find something.
The thing that got me actually was there was a period of time where like every update they're like, yep, here's all these cool things, and we changed the AK sound. It's like, dude, like why, man? I just got used to. Yeah, well, we changed it again. Like,
yeah, right, I mean, in playtesting, I'm so confused now because it's just like the M4 sounds different. I'm like running down the road, like, who is that? Like, what gun is that?
So prior to the 1.0 release, we had a partnership thing when Karma Cut was still running things here. We had a partnership thing with OWI, and we had done a bunch of releases of new weapons and kits and stuff through the mod development system that we have here. I had recorded MP5 audio. I'd recorded audio. I have access to these things as an FFL, right? So I had an MP5 that we had recorded semi-auto and full auto. I had a Barrett M107 that we had recorded audio for. I had an AK that we recorded audio for, a Shorty AMD 65 that we recorded audio for, and a handful of other guns. Because they just don't have a sound in Squad because they didn't have the weapon in Squad. So we record all this audio. And the guy that was doing the assistance with some of those weapon development system for our mod ends up taking a job with OWI. I still hear the audio that I recorded for the MP5. It's the same audio that they put in there in the system. He just took it with him. They applied it to the entire base game. I thought that was hilarious. Like, anyway,
amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. But and then somehow I don't want to bash on OWI because they have made a great game that has brought a lot of friends together. But at the same time, I've done the CPT stuff for 4 years now. We were promised under the old system, if you did like 100 playtests, you'd get your name on a Footlocker, or you get your name on a tank, or you get your name on the bomb thing for the IED thing. Dude, I've done like 150 of them. I haven't gotten anything. I've never gotten anything.
Here I am, like waving my arm, like I want something, and I've only been in it for a little under a year now.
And
give me a squad challenge coin, anything, please.
It was just so disingenuous. Like they said, okay, yeah, here's your tier structure. When you hit 100, and then you get this, and if you do 50, you get this, and they put out all the names, and like my name wasn't on there, and so then they had us fill out another form to kind of rectify the situation, and they were gonna like add those people to the thing, and then they came back and they were like, "All right, sorry, but we can't do anything." And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's fine." I didn't do it because I wanted a thing. I probably did it as many times as I did because I wanted something out of it, but yeah, it's okay. I got to see some cool stuff.
It's the World War II bomber cruise fucking missions extended again. Damn it! Nah, more playtesting.
Yeah.
Sorry, not enough points. Go home. Go hit another.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what for you? So, is this the game that you're just playing Squad, or do you have another game that you kind of play when you're not recording stuff?
Man, I came from City Builders. That was largely my start. Not quite the start. I kind of played a little bit of a variety of games when I got into streaming and content creation, and then I picked up City Skylines, and that was a game that I was pretty heavily focused on for years. And I have a separate YouTube channel dedicated to that, and kind of taken a hiatus from that as they're working on Cities 2 and trying to continue to develop that. But yeah, when it comes to more sort of, again, the combined arms FPS, like I'm typically going to play Squad over a lot of other stuff. But I've always been somebody that's had multiple games at any given time. So it could be that I play Squad for, a lot over 3 to 6 months and then take my little break and dabble with some other things. I still like building and kind of detailing and sort of making my own little, dioramas and stuff. So Planet Coaster right now is a fun one for me to play with and relax to, honestly. I'll dabble in something like War to Warships here and there, whatever. College Football 26 is coming out, so that'll have my attention for a month or so, at least. But
yeah,
you gotta get your beloved team up on the rankings.
Yeah, I gotta role play as a coach taking over. What is it, Kennesaw State or something like that for a few weeks and be miserable at recruiting? Yeah, that's
shout out to MTSU.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always played multiple games. When I first started streaming, it was I was playing Fortnite and Rainbow Six and Horizon Zero Dawn, and then I transitioned primarily to city building with dabbling and stuff. I've done GTA RP. I've done quite a wide variety. Every so often, just a simulation game or a survival. 7 days, or I'm playing Broken Arrow right now, which I'm apparently terrible at.
Hell yeah! Don't worry, bro. Me too.
I did the beta playtest of that, and I played like maybe 60 hours with some guys, which is 10, 20 games, something like that. And I was abysmal at the Command and Conquer play style, because the people are like, "Oh, you got to turn the radar search feature off on your AA gun, otherwise they'll come in and they'll wild we." It's like,
they'll harm you, dude. Come on.
I need to
figure this shit out. Just give me
I need a set of matchmaking in Broken Arrow that is like, these people also
middle-aged dad.
Yeah, I need something like, these folks have touch grass, these folks have not touched grass, and I'll just go into that.
Are you working 9 to 5? You go in this. You go in this queue.
Yeah. Do you have kids?
Yeah.
Good. Here's your.
Well, I stopped playing Call of Duty because of that. I'm like, all right, let's go, and it's just like, yep, sweet, welcome, and it's just the shit getting kicked out of me. I'm just like, I'm not having fun.
It's the same reason I stopped playing like something like Fortnite. Fortnite was just kind of goofy fun with a couple buddies, you know, just play a BR and whatever. And then you got guys building towers and stuff. And I'm like, I just want to shoot you. I don't want to do all that. Like I'm too tired.
Shout out.
And then Call of Duty just kind of, I don't know. I lost so much interest in Call of Duty for some reason. It just doesn't appeal to me like it used to. And Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 1.
They don't make it for multiplayer anymore. They make it for Warzone.
Yeah,
and
that's true. Yeah.
Warzone is sometimes good and then mostly terrible.
Yeah.
Well, it's also that business sense of like, we have to release a new Call of Duty. It's like,
right.
I mean, I'm cool with this. Like, what do you have now? It's like, nope. All right, well, can I take
put another
Warzone
DLC out there, please, and good to go.
Yeah, and the size keeps getting like huge. It's like, look, when your game starts getting to the same size that my Arma 3 mod folder is, it's like, can you relax, bro?
Yeah, I just remember updating.
And you have a separate hard drive just for mods, for Arma 3 mods. So yeah, it's getting comical at that point.
Stop hurting me, bro.
It's that whole, you know, father playing a video game thing. It's like when I go to play Rainbow Six Siege with Culper. If you ever get the opportunity to play Rainbow Six Siege with Culper, it's an experience. He puts us in lobbies where there's guys like they'll shoot the corner of a window to break the window out, so there's a single pixel, and they know exactly where your spawn point is.
Yep.
And they just hold that angle until you know it transitions from light to dark, and then they shoot you and then you're dead.
Yeah.
Like,
I got decent at Rainbow Six.
Do with that?
After they did Operation Health, so this is like 2016, 17. Like I got decent at Rainbow Six. I was just like a platinum or whatever it was. I don't know, and I had a lot of fun with it. But man, I can't. You go on there now, and the learning curve is so steep. To your point, it's just like some random dude with a 1 pixel spot is just shooting me through a wall across the map, and you know, okay, cool. I'll just uninstall again, come back in a couple of years to remind myself.
I started playing that.
Not gonna get better, bro.
When did Rainbow Six Siege come out? I don't remember now.
Like 14, 15, yeah.
Okay, so the year prior to that, they had the beta test. I remember playing the beta test when Tachanka was a newly released operator in the beta.
Oh wow!
And they had the map with the ship.
Embassy and house.
Like
the two maps.
No, the new one that they added was the ship.
Oh.
And they added Buck in there and gave him the black ice skins and some other
frozen,
stuff.
The frozen.
No, that was
So
that was in the beta. That was year 1 DLC.
Right. So, but
Tachanka
was added, and then they had that, and that was the last like update that I had, and then I had a deployment and never played the game again until we started playing last year. It was so different coming from that and then going to where it's at now. And I guess they've updated it again to Siege X or something. Have you played it since then?
No, but it's like with graphic overhaul and everything. Like it kind of feels like Rainbow. I think it's supposed to be like Rainbow Six 1.5. You know, like it's
okay.
Maybe I got the impression, and I have not played it, but based on what they were talking about, it seemed like they were switching to the Unreal 5 engine, basically, is kind of like the vibe I got. Like, okay. Oh, just a little bit of a, you know,
map refresh or whatever.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because I do like living games as a service. That's been a nice change. Because Squad came out, when was the beta for Squad? Like 2018, 2019?
No, 2016.
Nah, way earlier. Yeah.
Oh, 1.0 release 2020. The game's like, what, $40? Been playing it for 10 years now, ish.
You can get it for $20 right now.
Yeah.
That's true. The Steam summer sale fucking popped up, and I
have not
caved.
seen. I haven't seen that many good deals. I'll be honest.
I think the last sale was like a bigger one.
I bought a bunch of stuff for Total War.
Wasn't it like $15 in the last sale?
It was $14.99 in the last sale, and when I tell you our public servers were wild with a capital W.
Yeah.
It was like the wild, wild west out there. I have a meme that I post on Reddit every like free weekend, and it's the we were supposed to be a unit, Suck My Unit from Tropic Thunder. And it's like squad leader, and then a free playtester, and I post it. It gets 1,000 upvotes every time I post it.
It's every time I see a squad sale, I go and I repost my beginner guide on my like community post tab of YouTube.
Oh, gotcha. Like the 3 that pop up when you look at your screen.
Yeah, I throw it on there because it's really interesting actually with the $15 sale. Like just from a content creator perspective, that went from like whatever views it was getting every 48 hours. So maybe it was getting between 200 and 500 views every 48 hours. And then it went through like a week and a half, 2 weeks of like, oh, you're getting 1,000 views a day. Like it just doubled to tripled like its normal viewership was, and then it ran for 2 weeks like that. It was awesome. And already like it just started yesterday, the summer sale, and the viewership is upticking on it, which is kind of cool from just a content creator perspective. But I post it because it'll get shared in a couple spots. Just because there's not obviously a really solid tutorial system built into the game, so guys just don't know.
Sure.
Nothing beats the pilots. Nothing beats like, I'll give this a go, and you're just like, fuck.
Free to play weekend pilots.
All right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I did every time. Well, I've seen dudes do this cool maneuver, and it's just like, we're gonna die.
Here comes the J turn into the ground.
Oh, I saw this on the short, guys. I got this.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, I was so close. And it's like, as the helicopter's on fire. It's like,
first time?
Oh, you had it. You should have auto-rotated.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, crashes the helicopter, doesn't explode it, handgun to the head, kill themselves. I was like, all right, I'm going to grab a tank now. You're like, motherfuck.
Yeah, that's
I'll be right back. I'm going to grab a boat.
The way the player base, like what happens when those weekends hit, it's so interesting. How quickly just the gameplay changes. You'll be like, man, games this week were great. And then on Saturday, you're like, I never want to play this game again. I don't know what happened yesterday. What happened today?
It's funny. It's funny as well because like you go from like, all right, cool, conventional force versus conventional force to all of a sudden you have a single squad that's like switched on and it's like playing in Vietnam. They're like, they're coming. I don't fucking know what's going on.
It is. It's funny how quickly it adjusts. And like I've made now several guides to help kind of new players, and I mean the beginner guide is obviously like a super big challenge because you're trying to accommodate enough information that you think they need to know to be able to play the game at least decently or understand like what direction to run in to some extent, who to listen to, where to go, or whatever. Like, I mean, I do everything but probably tell them a whole lot about like how to left click and aim, but there will never be enough guides to explain just the basic tactics, and maybe don't click the squad leader, create a squad button right off the bat your first day. Like maybe don't get in the vehicle. Don't do it. Just go find a buddy.
Put the cannon. Just sit down.
Yeah, just stay there.
Grab a rifleman kit.
Put the cannon.
Grab a medic kit and just learn for like a week.
Yeah, I think in that video
I grabbed the rifleman kit.
You get a bag.
A squad.
Yeah.
It always makes me laugh when I see the guys because they'll pop up on the Discord pretty frequently, and we'll start talking to them or whatever. They'll hop in a Discord channel and they're pretty chill, and then they'll say something contentious, and then I'll say something like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, I have like 300 hours in this game now. And you're like, oh, you sweet, sweet summer child. You sweet summer child.
Yeah, you hit a quick
let me tell you the ways in which you've made a mistake here. Oh, God.
How many hours does Lawn Darts have?
I get like
15,000, 16,000.
Some of that in SDK, obviously. But
I was playing with him maybe a year ago, and we're sitting in oh God, what is that map? Klamdesh. And we're sitting inside of one of the buildings, and we're waiting because we heard a helicopter land in the the surrounding area.
Mm-hmm.
We're waiting for them to come here because it's the point they've got to take, and it's just him and I on the point, and we're both in the same building. And he hears something. I heard the same thing. I just wrote it off as like background noise. He's like, "Oh, there's somebody in the building next to us." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "That creek is distinctive to the specific wood covered by the rug in that building there, so there has to be somebody in that building, and we're the only two in here. And I'm like, this is like autistic levels of.
Don't play like Broken Arrow against that guy.
I feel like I'm playing, Rainbow Six Siege with, oh god, who's the Jinxie, right? It's like that's the distinctive noise that's made the boop boop, or whatever the noise he makes with his mouth. It's just like, do you know that for every building in Squad? What is wrong with you?
Well, I've just been in that building like a couple 100 times, so I kind of figured it out after a while.
That exact building. It's
insane.
That's the part of the beauty of it, man. Is there's a really cool learning curve to Squad that I don't think everyone expects when they walk into it. I think they just expect they can run as infantry and do their thing, and then you start, like, even now I've got just 3,000 hours or something in it, and which is not a lot in comparison to a lot of other people, but I still learn stuff or ideas of how to do things, and will continue to do that. And like anything that I make, that is not the end all of like, hey, this is the finished knowledge. There's always like one more step or one more rung on the ladder that you can go. And like one thing I've been asked to do and I want to make is like an SL guide, but I'm like, golly, dude, like the amount of directions I can go with that and the amount of information I don't know, or I'm not going to be able to put in this video because it can't be 6 hours. It's got to be a digestible 15 minutes probably. That has probably been one of the more challenging things with Squad, is like, as I've learned more, it's like, I remember doing a beginner guide last year, and I released the beginner guide I have right after WPMC was released. But I had been working on that video off and on for months because I basically built it out, and then I went back and I was like, this would be a really good time to post this video. And I redid it probably for about the fourth time before it was actually done, because I just kept finding these little things, and I'm like, if I don't talk about this, I don't know if this person's going to figure it out for another X amount of hours on their own. And it's like, then I'm going to feel somewhat liable for the fact that they didn't figure that out, or they're going to be doing it wrong the whole time. That's been definitely an interesting challenge with this game. Like a city builder, like I can tell you how to make something look pretty or ugly or whatever, but with Squad, it's like there's a different learning curve to it entirely.
Well, it's things
I think any form of leadership is trial by fire.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, I think any like form of leadership is always trial by fire. It's like, how do you deal with a tank? Here's how you do it on paper, and it's usually just hitting the ass with a rocket or hit it from the top with a rocket. But then it's like, all right, cool, and then you get 1,000 hours into Squad, and that tank driver also knows the same thing, and now he's doing crazy stuff. And at the same time, it's like, all right, cool. How do you keep it cohesion and shit like that? It's just like, I don't think you could ever have a booklet of like, here you go, and then you know this, you'll lead good. It's like, nah.
Well, it's a different. I still think that you could do maybe not a how-to, but a helpful tip guide.
Yeah.
Because there's things like with the INS feature that people don't know, where you can, as a squad leader, you can click on any other INS rally points and use those as your own.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that, but it's a hidden feature.
And that is like one of their biggest selling points as a faction. Like, oh, you can buddy rally. Oh my God. Like,
used to be all of them.
Yeah.
Which was insane.
I remember that.
Until the buddy rally. The one buddy rally gets found out and they find the 6 of the other ones sitting around it. You're like, okay, this is their tag finished.
I think
I still miss the old school. My bad, bro. I still remember Rising Storm had a really cool feature where you could pop as the commander, you could force respawn everybody on your position.
Ambush,
and it was just so funny. Yeah, because you just have like everybody's dead waiting, and it's like now, and there'd be like a tunnel. There'd be like one dude with like a fucking M16. All of a sudden, there's all these like VC running at him. He's just like, sorry, bro.
What were you saying, Colby?
No, I was just gonna say that you guys were talking about like how-to videos. I know Lawn Darts has made a couple of them. One a squad new player guide. It doesn't go into tanks or anything like that. It just goes into game mechanics, talks about battle blindness, maps and objectives, and even our own the SOP basic video that he made for us, which Slay, I don't know if you've ever watched his videos, but he loves cinematography. He spends so much time just working at the craft. So even with our SOP basic video, he goes into force structure, like the FTLs, squad leads, command structure, communication, and all that stuff. It really, even though that video is for us internally, with what we do, it can be applied to anything within squad, public servers or anything like that. We're talking about, when the game is 15% or 70% off or whatever it is, $15. Videos like this, like yours, for example, are super helpful for them because it just helps the servers. It increases the experience of the player base, right? And people have more fun overall. And so thank you for making those videos. We appreciate it.
Oh, this is cool.
I appreciate. Yeah, it's try to make stuff that is digestible for people that like have limited experience and whatever. I'm not a strategy military expert or anything like that, or I just base it off what I see and what they need to know that isn't built into the game already. You know what I mean? Like, that is, again, highly digestible, and I try to make it as simple as possible just to watch it. You may have to watch it twice, but I have learned so much from doing like tutorials for this game in terms of how to edit something to make it digestible, which is like an interesting challenge on its own. Because like I said, I went through so many variations, man. I was going through like all this stuff with the factions and stuff, and I'm like, dude, no one's gonna watch all this. Like, at some point, they're just going to click and they're going to know that they're, RGF and this is the tank. Like, I got to teach them how to spawn with their SL. I need to make sure they understand their compass or, some basic stuff. But it's been a real learning curve and a challenge on the creative side to do tutorials that are like meaningful and, again, digestible and something that people can walk into any server, whether it's y'all's or somebody else's, and be able just to operate basic stuff. Just be able to spawn and run in a direction and hope. That's,
Yeah. I reckon the most slept on skill is a call out that isn't over there.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I mean, the video starts off and like one of the first things they say is, you need a headset and a microphone. Like, if I leave that off, someone's gonna be like, you didn't say anything about a microphone. I'm like, well, come on, man.
I have a webcam.
It's implied.
The thing that I really appreciated about your videos was how digestible they were. It's something that you can sit there and you can watch, and it's fairly organic in the sense that when you're watching those new player videos or whatever, and I've played this game several thousand hours now, but I was able to reinforce some concepts that maybe I forgot about, or you just don't think about because they're a natural point of how to work through the typical dynamic of how a game works. But what gave you this idea that I need to create something that is different than what other people are putting out there? Because the thing, like I said, the thing that I've noticed, your approach is very much anybody can watch your video and anybody can pick that video up and go like figure this game out. Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of other streamers that I've seen that have put out their videos, it's very niche, and it's like, here's how I play the game, and here's how you can play the game like me. And you're not really focusing on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a good question. Back to like, if I go back to like city builder stuff that I was doing, I did a lot of detailing in city skylines. So it's almost like an ASMR video. You're listening to my voice and I'm talking about how to make something look realistic by posting stickers in a digital world, and like applying wear and tear, right? Because you play a city builder, everything's perfect. And like, how do you degrade it to make it look real? And I learned a lot from doing that from the standpoint of like, I got to do this in a way of like someone that's never done detailing, never downloaded maybe mods, right? And teach them how to make stuff look bad to make it look real. And from that, I also was doing very technical videos of like how to use a very specific mod. I was working with the modder, and that all of that basically made me realize a few things about how I needed to do stuff in a way that I felt was like something I would want to listen to, and something I hoped it would appeal to other people. And I don't script anything. I may bullet point. I may have a list of targets that I need to hit in the video, but largely it's all like an edit to me, constantly kind of evolving, right? Like I may get an intro, and then it's like everything else is like, you know what, this needs to come before here. I need to switch this out. And it's like constantly changing. And when some of it that I pride myself on is the fact that I feel like my tone stays relatively balanced through most of them. And it is not telling you to play a specific way. It's telling you how to operate the basic aspects of whatever I'm discussing. So whether it's like my radio video, this is what you should do with radios, right? Based on my knowledge and general knowledge. And I tend to actually take those videos and I'll send them to a couple of friends. And I'll say, does this seem like kind of knowledge that people may not find widely available, but reasonable? Because I don't feel like my way of playing is the best way of playing. Now if I'm best selling, like we're gonna do what I want to do because this is my squad, right? For better or worse. You guys will not remember the time that I put that rally in the best freaking spot on the map, and we took full radios down. But you'll remember when I drove your ass out here and we got killed by a BTR. That's the one thing you'll remember if that happens. So I really try to focus on how do I get people just to be at a certain tier or a certain level, and then from there it's like, okay, it's up to you to push it any further, right? I can get you the basic information, the basic pieces, but I don't necessarily want people to play the way I play. I just want them to. I try to take the knowledge that I have and just apply it in a reasonable way for them to understand and kind of fly with, because at the end of the day with squad, I mean, I can play and I could go into a server and someone's yelling at me because they believe that's the way you have to play. And it's like, not necessarily, dude. Like I've played in comp matches for, won, lost. I've played in pubs, won and lost. And you start to gain some idea of just how many different ways there are to play. So it's like, how do I find something in the middle? I guess is the best way to put it. And even then, I know that sometimes I give advice and it's just like, even now, like looking back on something I posted a year and a half ago, it's like, might be time to update that video. You know what I mean? Like that may not have been the best thing to say, but hopefully
the knowledge and baseline that you had then, or maybe things have changed in the game itself or whatever. Sure. Yeah.
It's like radio placement, dude. Now the radios are like, what, twice as loud?
Yeah.
So it's like now the sort of, I guess, meta to some extent is like, just put the radio next to the hab because it doesn't matter. Like, right. You might as well have it close. So in case that guy's sitting in the hab, he can run out and shoot the guy. Like instead of putting it not at the edge, because what is the first person, what the 5,000 hour player is walking the edge of the radius as soon as they find something every time. I don't know how many times I've heard, friends in the admin space say, look at this video, and they'll show the map and they'll show like a newer admin, like maybe a guy doesn't have a lot of experience, asking if it's ghosting. And you watch the guy and he's walking in a circle looking for the radio. It's just like, so, and even to go back to that video, this still has a decent amount of views and people still use it. It's just like, man, now the radios, you can hear it 6 blocks away. You might as well just put it in the hab. Like, let's just let them know where it is.
Who cares? Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's I appreciate that because that's been something that I've really tried to do. It's, I think, sometimes difficult to illustrate how it works, but man, it's I looked at that beginner guide, and that guide means a lot to me because of how much damn time I spent on it, which was unreasonable in the sense of like probably what your average creator might want to spend on it. Like you just need to get it out at some point. It doesn't have to be perfect; just needs to see the light of day. And I think there's a lot of folks that would have just went with the first iteration. I don't mean that negatively. It's just like could have put out one thing or could have put out this, and put a lot of hours into that to get it to a point where it was like, I guess, widely acceptable. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge. It's an interesting experience.
What brought you into streaming? Like what is the thing that you said, what was the defining moment in your life where you're like, okay, I'm gonna start streaming instead of doing whatever else you were doing before? I don't know.
The short of it was I was at a weird point, like, in life. I had, not to get, I'll kind of give the TLDR, I guess, is like My dad had passed. 3 months later, I was laid off, and then I kind of was like transitioning through people and friend groups after that. A lot was kind of going on personally, and I just had time. And I was like applying to new jobs. I was looking to potentially move, and all these things. And I just picked it up one day we would record, a few friends and I at the time would record like Rainbow Six rounds just to see like what
Okay.
happened. Like, how are we playing? Like, we weren't super serious. It was just kind of interesting to go back and look at like, what is the strategy here? And then I started streaming and it's like, oh, I got affiliate. I'm like, cool. And since then it's just like, okay, that's what we're doing. I moved and got a different job and continued streaming, and it's evolved over time, obviously. When COVID and the all of that was going on, my viewership at the time basically doubled because everyone was home. And
Right.
so my
Right.
community doubled, and I've been able
I
to,
got fat.
thankfully. It just yeah. I mean, on me too. But the interesting thing was, like, I was able to somehow maintain a lot of that even now. And the beautiful aspect of it that I didn't really know at the beginning what I was going to get out of it is just the people. I made relationships with some awesome people. I've had really cool opportunities. I've been to a couple Twitch cons, got to hang out with them. Some, my best friends all are fellow creators. I got to go to Finland last year. This was the first time I've ever been to Europe. That was with City Skylines folks. I hoping to do some more traveling with some people that I know, and I'm going on a vacation, later this year, and I'm going to get to meet a couple people and go, hang out with a few buddies that I've known for a while. So that is kind of what's kept me going through some ups and downs where I definitely thought like I was going to stop and stuff. But man, you meet a wide variety of people. It's like I can put a pin all over the map, of like people I know in different places and stuff like that. It's a really cool variety of backgrounds to be around, which makes it a lot of fun. And YouTube just sort of grew out of that because you need something that's just sort of running. And Squad in that way has been beneficial because it does well in terms of just sort of growing, I guess, the brand, for lack of a better word. This was an area that was like, I don't know what this is going to do. Let's post some YouTube shorts and then let's see what happens. And then, a year later, it's like, I guess I'll make a beginner guide because people keep asking for something, and I made the guide on, I got the opportunity to do an interview with Norby for Unreal 5, which was incredible. And do some of these other things that I think are really interesting. And it's been kind of just been a cool journey. I don't know. And the streaming thing has just been the consistent thing that I kind of do, a few times a week, and then work on YouTube chunk of the other time.
There you go. What's your favorite thing about streaming?
Oh, the people. Yeah, that's easy for me. The people. I enjoy being able to share gameplay, especially if I feel like I know something about what I'm doing, which isn't always the case. But I've enjoyed building relationships with a diverse group of people. Again, from different walks of life, different backgrounds, different countries, continents, whatever. But I also, from developing those relationships, I learn a lot about people. So I feel like I've not only grown as a person, but I've become sort of wiser because of it. Like, there's an education aspect to it, and when you start dealing with a variety of folks, hanging out with a variety of folks, and learning about a variety of people, and I mean, there's just stuff like from a dude that grew up in the Southeast. There's a lot of stuff I don't know about Canada, or the West Coast even. I mean, I went to California because I was going to TwitchCon. That was my first time seeing the Pacific Ocean. It's just been kind of a cool, being able to meet people that you wouldn't ordinarily be able to come across in a world that is like so infinitely connected, and sort of make some bonds like that. Because that truly didn't exist. What, 30 years ago, 20 years ago?
Yep.
Yeah. 20 years.
I think it's the same for me with this community. It's definitely just about the people. We've made a lot of connections here purely just through this game, and a lot of people have met in person. Fire and I have met half a dozen times now at this point.
Yep.
He did a road trip with me up to Maine last year, or the beginning of this year, with a couple other people in the car. Yeah, no, we've had a good time. So
$2,000 in fines, but we made
it. Yeah, I was at the beach with my buddy who streams and his girlfriend, and we're about 5 hours apart. Said, hey, want to meet at beach in the middle? Sure. And we went and sat at the beach for a couple days. I think sometimes it's you just, I don't know, you just find people and connect. And like I got buddies on Squad that like I'll meet or to some degree have talked about meeting or something like that. We'll run into each other. I mean, I knew a couple people at TwitchCon last year, got to hang out. It's just, it's a cool way of sort of learning about people, which I found interesting. I mean, I went from a very like private school to a public school at one point in my life, and it was like 100 people, 150 people to like 1,000 like overnight. And that was like really eye-opening because I'd spent all this time with these years with like the same people. Every year it's like that person's in your class this year, and I've known them since kindergarten, to a place where it's like I don't know any of these people's names, and like it's just constantly changing and evolving. And then I went to a school where it was very diverse and different, so many different countries and stuff like that. And all that, like, I don't know. It's kind of interesting how you see that in your life, and then you look at content creation, and it's kind of the same thing. It's just the diversity is just really interesting to me. I find it kind of fascinating to be able to meet people like I have, and then potentially like meet them, in San Diego or at the beach or whatever, like, and develop the relationships.
There you go. And that's your favorite thing. That's interesting. A lot of guys, I say a lot of guys, the few people that I've talked to about the streaming portion of it, it's the flexibility in their schedule. It's a refreshing take, for your side as to
that can certainly be a plus. I mean, I think there's a lot of neat things, like from a job perspective, it's challenging. It is mentally and emotionally taxing at times because it's not, and I don't say that as like a boo-hoo, it's so hard. It's more so like it is a different dynamic that I don't know that we were prepared for. I think in a few years maybe we'll have even a better understanding of it. But man, I've been doing it a while, and I'm not like, I don't get thousands of people to watch my stream or anything like that. And I'm trying to grow a YouTube, and I'm very understanding of where I am on the scale of things, where that 1% and where, all that stuff is. And but there's some really cool aspects to it. With regards to flexibility and being able to earn some form of income. And it is a really crazy thing to get when you start getting in the business side and trying to understand, okay, how does this become sustainable? Right. And in my opinion, and what I have found and what I've kind of challenged myself over the last several months to work on is community building and trying to understand now, okay, we're 5 years post when I kind of doubled in size or scale, right, with COVID and stuff like that. And it's like a lot of people left. A lot of people went back to whatever they were doing in 2018, 2019. And it's been an experience trying to figure out, okay, how do I connect with people now? Because it's different. It's different than it was. Now you have multiple streaming platforms. Like you can go to Kick. For a minute there was Mixer. Like it just changes, right? Discord is becoming such a integral piece of like how to connect different platforms. And my biggest challenge probably is saying, okay, well, I have Slay3K as a YouTube channel with Squad, which is actively growing. It's like, how do I figure out what my brand and identity is between, maybe posting, let's say, Squad content or whatever FPS content I want, and a Twitch channel where I might play Peak and Climb with somebody, or I might play Planet Coaster for a couple hours and zone out. Like that's so different. And it's like, how do I do that? And it boils down to, it's the same people in some cases in both places. Like I gotta figure out how to make that connective tissue and make it and develop the community aspect of it. And at the end of the day, that's where it starts, ends, and all that.
And when you're talking about kind of changing your brand, that seems to be a constant thing you have to do. Like you look at people like Moydog, or I mean even Karmacut, but primarily Moydog. Recently, he started to delve into more of the I don't know what you'd call it, like the casting side of things. Like he picks a topic.
Yeah,
he's got the microphone. I think one of the recent videos I watched was him talking about like an old Call of Duty game, or kind of like the history of FPS games, something like that. Which I appreciate the changing content. It's refreshing to see that kind of thing, just in general, but from a content creator, because you can see that their creative side is still there, right?
Yeah, I think, and I obviously don't speak for Moy Dog. I think it's like that takes a little bit of courage, I think, to put yourself on camera in that capacity.
Yeah,
like, especially like it's for some reason I don't like being on camera, but streaming is like it's like okay, like like I've gotten used to it to some degree, but still putting myself on a YouTube video is like a little bit of like it's different than being on like this, for example, right? But when it's like me holding up a microphone, that scares the shit out of me.
Like, and then having to watch it back and edit.
Yeah, then like no,
dude, I would blow my brains out.
There's that's a challenge within itself. To some extent, yeah, it's just like there's a certain amount of consistent of like evolution that you have to make. Right. If you stay the same for too long, like you don't branch out enough, and then those people that knew you on day 1 may have ventured off by day 15.
Yeah.
So how do you continue to be something interesting?
Well, it's just stagnation.
Yeah, it's stagnation. It's also like, I guess at the end of the day, like Twitch, like you're providing some space, right? And typically it's going to be an entertainment space. So whether you're a personality or you're a really great gamer or somewhere in between, you sort of have to identify that, and you have to consistently provide something a little bit fresh. Like you're Netflix for some people, frankly. Like they're paying X amount for no ads, and you gotta make it into
entertainment.
Yeah, you gotta make it to something that they're gonna come back to, or you'll
Today I was running a Bobcat all day. One of the job sites that I own a business, and one of the things we do is commercial and residential real estate development, right? So I was sitting on a Bobcat today. I'm moving dirt, trying to get this stuff compacted, trying to help guys out because they've gotten this Bobcat stuck like 3 weekends in a row. Didn't want it to happen a 4th weekend in a row, so I'm running it myself. And I'm inside this thing, and I was thinking about this question today in preparation for this engagement with you, and I didn't realize how much I use YouTube as a way to provide entertainment value while I'm doing other things. While I'm sitting in that Bobcat, throwing my AirPods in, noise canceling's on, I can't hear anything in the cab, and I'm able to just focus on the job, but at the same time have someone else in the background telling me information or working through something or whatever. And that's a unique dynamic because I don't know how old you are. I'm almost 40. I'll be 40 next year, and I remember not having that, right? Like you had a Walkman, right, with a fucking CD player that you plugged in, and if you tried to jog with it, right, if you jogged with it, the thing would like bounce around and it would cut in and out, or you could destroy the CD, or
and the CD only had one band on it usually.
Right. Unless you did a mix yourself, which didn't happen.
Now that's what I call music, man.
Right. And now I could do the same thing.
LimeWire, bro.
What was the other? It was a bear. What was the other one? It was a.
Napster, LimeWire, Kazaa, something like that.
Tunnel Bear was the other one.
Okay.
Tunnel Bear.
I think
that's for me, brother.
Real.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm like 80% sure you're making that one up.
No, there is another one. I don't. It was a bear. Was the
there was a shark one? Was there a shark one? I think there was a shark one.
There's probably a bunch, dude. They were all skinned differently, but the same thing. They were all gonna get you in trouble eventually.
It was a different dynamic, a different time period, and then like now I've got everything in my phone. You know what I mean? Everything is here, and I can pull up. A trillion videos on YouTube. I think that's the number they're at now, right? 1 trillion videos on YouTube. You can pull up and watch someone do something on there, woodworking or whatever. It's just such a strange dynamic, I think.
Yeah, it's I mean, I remember like being a Notre Dame fan 10 years ago or something like that. It was, a couple blogs, or it was like you found a forum or whatever. It wasn't that long ago. That was where typically I found the information about recruiting. How's the team going to be this year? And I remember sitting there talking to my dad about it, right? And then
or like an AM sports radio channel.
Yeah, but I mean, even where I am, I can't get that for Notre Dame, so it's like I had to go further for it. And now it's like I can sit per week. I can listen to 3 podcasts, if not more, during the summer when it's not even the season, and I can listen to everything about recruiting, what random person in the office who didn't have anything to do with the football aspect, but did the behind the scenes, what job he took, somewhere else. Like it's the amount of information is kind of wild. And I do, like, for example, co-work streams in my Discord, and it's something that has kind of like, I did it a little bit, wasn't sure what it was, and I've done it more consistently. So I'll go into my Discord and I'll just edit, and it might be something super simple. I might be working in Photoshop making a thumbnail for like the video I posted today, and that's like an hour or something like that of me fooling around with text or whatever because of indecision. And people come in there and work and just hang out because they feel like it's motivational for them to have someone to work alongside, but it doesn't have the same demand that being like active in Twitch or on Twitch is.
Like muttering to himself, which is fine if you worked in an office, but we do work at a gun store, so that is a little concerning.
Maybe.
That's maybe you don't let that guy
buddy, you all right?
Yeah, we try not to. He did ND one time, which we've only had like 3 NDs in the store.
And he's one of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't.
You gotta get a wall game.
His fault. Yeah, we do need a wall shame. It wasn't totally his fault, to be fair. Yeah, it was. It was
pull
like
the trigger.
He did pull the trigger. He 100% did. But it was a pump action 22, and it had like the tube feed, and like after test fire, like one of the rounds got stuck in the tube feed and didn't realize it was still loaded, and like it shook itself loose while he was taking photos of it to put online, and he, being him, he racked it and shot it. Didn't check when he racked it.
So he pulled.
But it is kind of his fault. Yeah, it is his fault. Never mind.
Yeah, well,
we talked ourselves through it. Yep. That's on that guy.
Yeah.
Circling back to that
was it you? Is that what you're trying to defend him?
Look.
It's a guy at work I know.
It was a couple.
Circling back to that topic from before, one of the biggest issues that I have, and I don't know if this is something you face, but like I'd tried to do Twitch for a little while. I'm playing a video game, I might as well stream it. That's kind of the thought process I have with it. And I was trying to do it on my own for a little while. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe I can get into video editing and I'll start working on this. And I edited a few videos and I put them up on YouTube. But I would take like 3 hours worth of Twitch stream and I would edit it down to like 6.5 minutes of content. And the number one complaint that I had from people was that it's like, well, you're taking out all the best parts. What about this? And what about this? And it's like, well, I thought it was stupid. You guys like that? Like, how do you feel? Like, I basically, Culper's the guy that does all the editing now. I just throw shit on Twitch. It's like a monkey flinging poo on a wall, just like, let's see what sticks up here. And then he'll find the little gems in there. He found one the other day and posted it on the TikTok. I was cracking up. We were playing Rainbow Six Siege, and I said something like, I'm cornered by 4 men in the showers right now, or something like that.
Oh yeah.
It's just my audio, and then it's him murdering the 4 people that just murdered me in the showers. It's just like he finds the little gems in there, which is great.
Little chunks of corn.
It's difficult though. I guess the question is how do you get past the self-deprecating factor? Because it's difficult for me to like go in here and go, I suck at this game. I suck at most video games, but I suck at this game in particular.
Comfortable with. And I find those occasionally with areas of like I'm not great at improv. If I'm put too much on the spot, it just doesn't. I can't do D&D on stream. It just doesn't do anything for me. There's some games that are the same way. It's just like I don't have anything here that I feel like I can offer. So I find limitations occasionally, but ultimately it's just like, if you're genuine with the community that you're building, it becomes so much easier just to be who you are and do whatever. If you want to be self-deprecating, like that's what you're going to build around you, and people are going to get that joke or the meme, and then it kind of escalates from there, one way or another.
So you really are a nerd, then?
Yeah, a little bit. Apparently, well, I'm not. I tell everybody else.
You can't say that.
Okay. My bad. It's his word we use, not ours. My bad.
It's everybody.
No,
it can't be me.
3 out of the 4 of us in this room, if we're counting legally distinct Jamie as a person, I don't know if we can. Is he a half a person? How does this work?
Never mind.
Okay. Anyway, 3 out of the 4 of us are in a D&D group together.
Yeah,
so we do D&D, and I've had, I think Fire asked about it the other day. You were like, "Hey, why don't we stream our D&D stuff?" And I was like, as the DM of D&D, I don't know that I want my shit posting being thrown out there. I just killed off one of the main characters.
Yeah.
2 sessions ago.
No, he killed himself.
He killed himself. All right, it was his
bad decision making. Yeah.
Listen, okay. Do you play it in person typically, or do you do D&D? Online? Mm-hmm.
I've not ever played it in person. I've done 1 or 2 things. For some reason, I have a pretty good imagination. And all that. I can't figure out how to put myself in the character shoes. I guess I'm not an actor either. Like I'm just kind of, this is it. I can do a voice, right? Fake a British accent for a couple minutes or whatever. That's atrocious, or something like that. But then, you need me to do it for 2 hours or, a couple Saturdays. It's like, yeah, we're out the,
My accents always slip into Russian. I don't know why.
That's a nice.
Just do.
That's a nice.
Or you try a New York accent and then it turns into Russian.
Yeah. Right. It'll be like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And then it'll dive into like old Jewish woman. It's just
a
is
nice
what it is.
aesthetic woman, and then somehow into Russian again.
It goes full circle. It's just this rotating wheel of.
You stopped at one point yesterday. It's like, oh, what was their accent? It's like. You got like one.
It is.
It was interesting. Like
God
forbid character's accent again.
God forbid there's more than one character in the room that we have to talk to, and we have to figure out who is talking at the moment. It's like, why is there a family of guards that all have the same accent?
Oh, well, this one is a different octave. So.
Yeah, because he just needs take the time to write any notes, right? Like I give him names for every character.
I've
got a notebook of stuff here, right? Of like the last year and a half of this campaign, and I've got like names for even NPCs, and I've written them all down.
Yeah.
What do I get? Nothing. I get nothing from them.
I have a note on my screen right now. It says D&D knows. I forgot the T, but. We made up a name because you forgot
thing that we use. Yeah, that's true. He is right on that one. Like you were like, yeah, well, what was his name? And it was like, I don't know, what was it? And you're like,
1 in 700.
What do you want it to be?
All right, thanks, man.
Yeah, the one. Hey, man, as you said before, the one time you fuck it, we'll always remember it. Doesn't matter if we fuck it 9 times, bro.
Oh God. Well, Slay, I have taken all the time up here of asking questions. Typically, we like to give our guests an opportunity to ask questions from us. So I don't know if you have any, and if you don't have any prepared, that's fine. But I wanted to give you the opportunity to, say anything you want to say, ask us questions if you want to just get some info out there for people.
I would.
This is your time.
One thing I would like to know, and it's because of my sort of lack of education on it, so it's more of a me thing, is if you could break down, because I know SquadOps, I've heard of you guys, I've seen you guys do like sort of missions and stuff on stream. But can you describe sort of what all you guys offer and sort of what, like, how you guys define SquadOps to someone that like maybe is coming in or is unfamiliar?
Gotcha. First and foremost, it's a gaming community. We're centered around first-person shooter games, Squad, Armor Reforger, things of that nature. That doesn't mean that's the only thing we play. We've got about 35 people that play Rust every Thursday on a Rust wipe. It's a little rough, I know, but they're good people. We've managed to cull
some of them. All right, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing Rust, right?
From that, from that group of people, and we've kind of got those edging sociopaths. They're not quite psychopaths yet, and we're good. They only
no empathy.
break
No
one
empathy.
desk a year. That's the key, right? They can't break more than one. If you break more than one, you're not allowed in our Rust group.
No empathy, but they do have a conscience a little bit.
Right, exactly. Anyway, so I would say first and foremost, we're a gaming community, and it's not a traditional gaming community where, you know, you're focusing on one particular game. We offer events for a variety of different games. Squad just happens to be the thing that brought us together. Historically, we've been just a squad-centered community. You take a look at us from 2016 when the Discord was founded. It was entirely based off of the pre 1.0 release of Squad.
Okay.
And Karma Cut developing his kind of viewpoint on the game, and then developing himself as a content creator, and then progressing from there to the point where he felt that Squad was not a game that he could continue to post content about because he wasn't as infatuated with it as he was before. He lost interest. And at that point, he decided to remove himself from the community at a leadership level and focus on his own game. And from there, we've gone through, it's almost yearly, we go through some sort of a dynamic change about how we're doing things. If you'd asked me that question a year ago, I would tell you that we are still primarily a squad-centered community. At the time, we were getting between 70 and 100 people per event. Now, I think our average is like 35. The numbers have dwindled pretty significantly. And I think a lot of that is people are waiting for the next big thing to come out from OWI. And then they'll come back for 2 or 3 months, and then it'll dwindle down again. That seems to kind of be the cycle. But the irony in that statement is that even though we're not producing 100-person, 80-person events for Squad anymore, not that we can't do them, it's just that we don't have the people that want to attend it. I don't think the Discord's been any healthier than it is right now. I mean, on an average night, we probably have more people sitting in Discord lobbies now than we did 5 years ago. They're just doing other things. They're playing Forger, they're playing Broken Arrow, they're playing Dune Awakening's been a big game for us now. We've got like 20 people playing that. So they're kind of spread out, but it's all the same friend group. And I think what's helped with that as well is, you know, as you get to know people, you actually develop relationships here that are different than relationships in other gaming communities. I mean, I've reached the maximum number of Discords you're allowed to be in at least twice now, right? So, and a lot of that was being the former community manager for this community. You know, we've got 450 separate Squad communities that you got to go sit in, and you're trying to invite them to come participate in your events, or you're trying to invite them to, you know, work through admin situations, or you want to send them information, or you have to ask a generalized question or whatever.
Right.
And most of those other communities are really not that. They're focused on Squad, and then when their community starts to die off from Squad, they shutter their doors. We saw a huge resurgence of that last year, and then prior to that with the ICO update, a lot of these communities that were doing phenomenally well completely shuttered everything. They shut the Patreon down, they shut the servers down. The Discord's still there, but it's, you know, it's a fucking tumbleweed ghost town. And I think that's kind of where we're at now. It's not the tumbleweed ghost town. We've just cycled out of playing Squad as a primary game, in my opinion. I know that our public servers are doing well. It's just our events are not as well attended. And some of that's aggrandizing is not the word, but self-produced, right? We've done One Life events for
self-inflicted
for almost a decade now, right? We were doing One Life events before anyone else was doing them in Squad. We had at one point up until 2020, we had the only mod that was allowed to be on public servers from OWI. So there was no other mod that OWI had said is stable enough for us to put on our public servers other than SquadOps. And that was our bread and butter for a long time. And we brought people in. having them play our modded server because nobody else had modded servers. We were adding, equipment, vehicles, kits, even some maps from time to time would make their way in there. And post-COVID was a big change for us. As you said, a lot of people were home. And then as COVID kind of filtered its way out, so to speak, 2023 was a downturn, right, of attendance because now everybody's going out and touching grass. So they have to go back and get real jobs or whatever. And that's cycled to where we're at today. A lot of interest was lost in Squad, but I would say if you're an outsider person looking in, I mean, that's the broad picture historical part. If you're an outside person looking in, we're just a gaming community, or a gaming community that's not focused on a single game per se. Although Squad is the game that brought us all together, it's probably the game we're going to continue playing. We do meetups. I mean, that's one of the big things that we do. We do meetups with the community. So we've done, I think we're on meetup number 8 or 9 at this point in the last 3 years. We've done Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Gettysburg. We did DC. We've done 2 Texas trips, Chicago, and each one of those has between 10 and 30 people that attend them, which is awesome. You get to meet people's spouses that maybe you didn't meet before, and
a lot of do you have a lot of like ex-military?
Oh yeah. I would say at one point probably 15% of the Discord, maybe 20% of the Discord was prior military. Yeah, I was in the Marine Corps for 13 years, and we've got other guys. One of the other commentators that's on here pretty regularly, his name is Frost. He's still active duty. Aussies, active duty Australian military. I don't know if that counts, but
no deployments.
He's there.
It does. It's real, bro.
It's real, bro.
Just wrap it around to what we offer. We do have One Life events, but we also offer SquadOps tactics and training or SOT courses. So we offer basic training, assaulter, CQC, FTL. What others?
Oh boy.
What others do we have?
JTAG was there?
Yeah, JTAG's a new one for Squad specifically. And for JTAG, we're hoping to implement that into Reforger hopefully soon as well. But a lot of those courses back in 2016, 2017, and even until now, a lot of those guys who developed those courses were active or former active military. So it's not like we're pulling information from online and trying to we think this is how it works. It's they are pulling things from their experiences and applying it to Squad. And I think that's where we shined. I think that's where we still shine, but I think that's where we shined early on. We offered an experience, not just One Life events, but an experience that wasn't milsim per se, right? Like you have some communities who are full on milsim, general, colonel, major, they have ranks. We didn't go that far, but we did implement a lot of the same tactics that we see in the real world.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I never I feel like I have obviously like when you have different communities attached to like a game, for example, you're all sort of orbiting like the same center point, right? Squad or Arma or whatever. And it's I've had a really strong relationship with Unnamed, which is another gaming community, and they have Squad and they have Arma and they have Star Citizen and various other games. And
play their Reforger server all the time.
Yeah. But I never had a full grasp on, I guess, what is SquadOps. So I appreciate the explanation. Like I said, I've seen you guys, streaming some of the events and stuff like that. I think that was probably my first introduction, and then I've run into a couple of you guys like in play testing and stuff. Gotcha. But yeah, I need to send you guys an invite too to whenever we do the next Friday Night Fights and see if we can get a couple of you guys in there and hanging out with us. And
for sure, would love to.
Yeah, would love to. Kind of bridge more of those communities and stuff, and it's been a lot of fun.
Fair enough. You got any other questions for us?
I mean, can I get a quick lowdown on like each one of you real quick? I feel like we've been thrust here into the spotlight.
Sure.
Yeah, we heard a lot about me.
Who do you want to start with?
The guy hanging out in the tropical islands over there.
Okay.
Yeah, so
didgeridoo
Aussie
man.
Wookie, everyone just call.
Oh, there goes his internet.
that was
my currency is.
As soon as he started, the sharks chewed on the cable.
That's amazing.
Oh, what? No.
Goddamn crabs got in the line, dude.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
Looks like it's set. I got the little bars. All right, cool. Yeah. Yeah, so Aussie Wookie, fucking my currency is bottle caps. My internet is terrible because the Lone Wanderer hasn't fixed the radio tower yet. Yeah, currently serving. And the comedic group, fucking relief. That's the cliff.
What's your squad kit though? What's your infantry kit, or what do you do?
And a maroon beret. That's about it. I am a paratrooper.
You're a paratrooper?
I got a cool beret.
Oh,
That's not with me.
Yeah, he's saying in real life. He meant in squad. What's your kit?
So jump out of planes. Yeah. Well, in Minecraft.
It went from a 5-second delay to 20 seconds.
God damn it. Yeah, I've the only places I've deployed to are Verdansk, Chernobyl, and Takis. Yeah,
that was a tough one. Me almost didn't get out of that one.
And yeah, we should move on before my internet breaks entirely. And
oh my god,
that's me.
Thank you, Ozzy. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, Fire, go ahead, buddy.
I'm Fire, Raylor. Just Fire. I'm completely civilian. I did JRTC in high school, which makes me a fucking nerd among nerds. But no, I work at the gun store. Completely civilian. I've been in this community for 5 years or so. Honestly, I don't really play that much squad, but when I do, I usually play Grenadier Kit.
Okay.
Culper?
Oh,
Jamie?
Yeah, my name is Culper. I've been in the community since 2018.
Oh wow.
I saw one of the SquadOps. I think it was Hutch MF. I think it was what his name was. He was streaming on the SquadOps channel. Saw it on Twitch. Got into it. Became staff and took a little hiatus. Came back in 2024 in January and started the marketing team and have just been trying to extend our reach since then. Personally, I'm a telecommunications engineer, and that's what I do by day. And my favorite kit, I haven't played squad in a good bit. It's usually been Arma Reforger, and I like the sniper kit personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you the typical marksman? Or are you like 2,000 meters?
I mean, it could be either. I mean, I was doing this in Warzone in 2020, man. Like just sniping people across the map.
Okay. A true professional, a true artist.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where you look down the sight and you don't know the range, but I can visually like I'm like, okay, yeah, that looks about right. That's about 1,500 meters. And I take my shot and it's just below where I was aiming. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm good. Like that's kind of how I play, right? Like I'm not trying to range my targets all the time and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
True pro.
This is the cat. This is the important thing. She's being very needy because I haven't been home for a couple of days. Captain Morgan. I was in the Marine Corps from 2005 to 2018. Got out in mid of 2018. And I now own a burgeoning construction company after selling off an arborist business and thought I was going to kind of semi-retire and then decided I couldn't sit at home twiddling my thumbs. And anyway, one thing has led to another, and now we're busier than I was before, which I really super enjoy. You can tell by the tone of my voice that I'm really loving where I'm at right now. No, it's fine. I've got a couple more months, and then a lot of these projects that have been going on will kind of ramp down, and I can get back to doing what I like to do, which is being a degenerate playing video games. I've got 2 kids. You've seen them floating around in the background.
He's also a.
I've got a 13-year-old going on 35.
Actor.
And
Don't forget that.
True.
Don't forget being an actor.
I've got a 13-year-old that's going on 35, and I've got an 11-year-old that's going on like 7. Right, so they're both at different. They're different age ranges at this point. The 11-year-old had her. He's referring to this actor thing. My 11-year-old has a friend at school that has been doing theater plays for like 5 or 6 years now. Local theater. It's not anything cool, but anyway, her friend convinced my daughter to go try out for this play. And so, Dad's home. Okay, I'll go with you. I'll take you. It's no problem. I go down there with my oldest child, my youngest child, myself. We're sitting in this auditorium and we're waiting. And there's like 400 kids. Well, 397 children, right? So like under the age of 15. Okay. There are 3 adults that are trying out. It's 397 kids that are trying out. There's a bunch of parents in the room, but none of the parents want anything to do with this fucking ridiculous thing, right? So I'm sitting there,
including you.
I'm working the whole time, right? I'm like answering emails, answering text messages, taking phone calls. I've got my AirPods in, and I'm just like working. It's a space I can work at. It's not quiet, but at least I'm not going to be bothered. You know what I mean? So she has to go up a few times and go through her process. And the first time they do like a big cull of people, right? So they'll bring you up on stage. Each person gets an opportunity, and they have like 3 or 4 kids up there at one time. So they've got like a casting director. They've got the director for the play. They've got the audio director, and they've got like a costume director. And they're all like working different sections of the what do they call that?
Stage.
The fucking stage, right? And they've got 4 kids up at a time. So they're rolling through this stuff pretty quick. I don't know. So anyway, I learned that there's a thing called set work, which is apparently when you bring shit to like a practice to act as the prop piece because they don't have the props made. I learned that's a word. Anyway.
Okay.
So we're sitting in this auditorium, we're going through the process, and I'm just sitting there working. And this lady comes, sits down next to me, and I'm assuming it's at first I'm like assuming it's one of the parents of the kids, and then I pull my AirPod out because she's trying to have a conversation with me, and she's like, "Hey, have you given any thought to, or no, how did she put it? She's like, "Are you here to audition for the play?" And I was like, "No, it's my child is. She's going up there." And she goes, "Well, you should." And I was like, I'm good. I don't really want to do that. She's like, "No, you really should like give some thought to like trying out for this. We don't have very many adults. This play is like 50% adults. I'm going to have to rewrite a bunch of the lines so they're kid friendly. You should try out for this play." I was like, "I am not going to try out for the play. I appreciate it, but I got too much work going on. I got to get back to it." She's like, "Okay, whatever." So she leaves. My daughter goes up. She goes through the rounds of cuts. So the first one, they cull it down from like 400 kids to 200, and then she sends the casting director over to talk to me, give me the same spiel, and then they go from like 200 to 100 kids, and then she sends somebody else over to talk to me, and then we go from 100 kids down to like 25 kids, and she sends someone else over to me. So finally, at the end, she's like, "Look, I know you don't want to audition for this thing. Your daughter has done really well. We think we want her for a part. But we need an older male actor to play, a person." She goes, "Just read the script. If you're not a good fit, we won't cast you. But if we think that we can work with you, give it a try." I'm like, okay. So I just very monotone. This is the play here. Very monotone. She's like, "Read this part." And I'm like, okay. "Promise you will come back to visit on all the holidays. Working for my mom will be so dreadful knowing that you won't be coming in to make your daily visits." "Okay, thanks. All right, I'll see you later." She's like, "Okay, that was great." She's like, "Thank you so much for coming. You're awesome. We'll let you know if you get the part. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, I'm not getting the part, right? I'm like, there's no way. 2 weeks go by because they had 2 rounds of casting. So we went to the first one. They go to the second one. Didn't go to the second one. I go to look on, it was on Facebook. Go to look on Facebook, and I'm like cruising through the listings and trying to see who's on there. And I see my daughter's name. I'm like, okay, great. She got her part. Fantastic. And then I'm going through the list a little bit more to see if I could find her friend's name and make sure her friends got it. And then I'm like, I did a double take. There was like, I'm scrolling. I'm like, hold on a minute. And I'm like, oh shit, my name's on here, and it's next to this part. Oh, I got the part by default, not because I deserved it, but because I was still over the age of like 20 at this thing, and they needed an adult to play an adult part. So yeah. Anyway, that's what my life has been for the last month now. I've been trying to learn lines for a play that I've
didn't know you were signing up for.
Yeah, it's great, but that's the life of a parent. For those of you that don't have kids, you make a lot of sacrifices. And one of those is embarrassing yourself up on a stage with 200 people watching you. So
it should be a good time. I'm excited. I'm sure it's going to be recorded and shared. Yeah.
Yep. It will.
No.
I definitely know a couple of us were debating.
Okay. No, I think it will.
A couple of the guys are like, yeah, we'll fly down and we'll come visit you for the play.
We'll make a meet out of it.
Absolutely.
Dude.
I've got a boat. And there's plenty of space for bodies.
If somebody
makes some people disappear,
Minecraft.
Problem.
Someone needs to give him flowers after his first performance.
Exactly. Someone needs to be there and say, break a leg.
Yeah, exactly.
Othello, break a leg.
He needs to find he's like. The
most frustrating part for me about this whole thing.
Someone needs to find a picture of him in his dress blues and be like, "Can you sign this, please, Mr. Actor?"
I do.
Can you sign this, please?
I do have an old photo that I send around to when somebody's like, it's Veterans Day or whatever, and they're like, "Where's a photo of you?" And I've got this is how old I am. I've got a photo of me standing next to a cobra, right? And I'm like, this is so cool because I'm and I'm like super thin and like ripped, and I'm like, I'm not that anymore. I'm a fat old man now, but anyway, so like the most frustrating thing about this play is that my daughter has memorized all of her parts. And I've read through this thing 100 times. And dude, we go to practice, which I haven't been to very many of them because I've been working, but we go to practice and it's all gone. Like I can't focus on it.
Yeah.
So I'm just making shit up and they think it's hilarious. And so I went it was earlier this week. My days blurred together. I think it might have been Monday or Tuesday. So I go and it's now canon. It's now a part of the play. We were there and we have this big face-off thing between my character and another character and our minions, of which my daughter is one of them. They're competing against each other, right? So I'm telling her, give me the stuff that you took back to me and we'll let this, go. And she's like, yeah, but it's never going to happen. So I let off with, because I can't remember her name. It's Talionia, I think is how you pronounce it. But I was like Talanthea, and the casting or the director she cracks up laughing. She goes, you gotta put that in there. She goes, I don't care what you say, just make it as derisive as possible when you say it. She goes, you're gonna be great. I'm like,
you're gonna be great.
Okay.
You want this?
Okay. This is the sort of thing that you like? Okay, I can get behind this. So then,
you're a natural.
Later this week, I think it was Wednesday. I had to, because I was traveling.
Mm-hmm.
I missed practice again, and she's like, "Hey, we need to sit down. When's a good day for you to do a voice call with me, and or video call with me, and we can do some some set work, and you can read your lines, I can read some lines from these other people, and but we need to make sure you're getting your stuff straight." And I'm like, okay. So I sit down on Wednesday and I'm going over these fucking lines with this lady, and she's like, "Oh, you're so great at this. The lines are coming out naturally. Just change your kind of pitch." And I'm like, I'm not good at this at all. I have no idea what you're saying. I'm not gonna sit here with this fucking book and read it line for line, and it's very monotone. But she's the most encouraging person in the world. I think it's not good though, because it's starting to go to my head a little that maybe I'm good at this, and I'm not at all. I know I'm not.
So the next time I'm on here, he's going to be on like a local TV show or something like that, right? This is the start of the career.
Yeah, he's gonna be running. He's gonna be mentioning commercials and local businesses here soon.
This is the start.
I mean, maybe you do ads for your.
He's gonna play
sponsor
like
reads,
Dead Body or something.
Well, we tried to get sponsored by Raytheon, and then they said no. So
I got a buddy that works at L3 Harris. I found out the other day. He didn't tell us.
Will they sponsor us?
Find out.
Yeah.
All right.
I got a real friend at BAE, but I don't like. He knows me well enough that I don't think he'll be like. No.
He won't do it.
No.
Yeah. He knows what we'll do with it.
He won't put his name to it. Yeah. He's like, you won't get political if we do this, right? It's like, no. Well, no, maybe. No. Well, we have some ideas. Like, all right, no, you're out. I haven't said the ideas yet.
Look, we're always on the side of big business, okay?
Yeah. Governments are dead. Ideology is a waste of time. It's all about the profit.
We're standing on business out here. That's all.
Emo girls, don't forget that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Slay, you have been a fantastic guest for us. Thank you for giving us time to pick your brain tonight. I know we've taken up 2 hours of your life. We appreciate it, man.
I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Anything else? Any final things you want to say? Anything we've missed that you're like, hey, I want this out there?
No, I mean, I have my squad channel, the Slay3K Kilo. You can find me on Twitch at Slay3K. Those are the primary areas. And our Friday Night Fights event is probably the most relevant thing, but it's only scheduled like once every month and a half to 2 months. And it's like a scheduled night where we try to have some North American, time zone games. Try to get some communities and, some comp folks together and just play some fun rounds that are, map list and faction rotation of my choosing typically, which is fun to see the reactions to that. We just hang out and goof off on that, and that's usually something I broadcast too on my Twitch channel. But every so often we're dabbling with Squad, and as 9.0 comes up, there will be more of that, on the YouTube and probably on Twitch as 9.0 approaches, because like you guys know, we're just kind of waiting on content or an update or whatever right now. So, but yeah, I appreciate the fact that I appreciate the questions and thank you guys for having me here. It was really cool. It's nice meeting you all too, as well.
You too, man. You too. Well, thank you again for coming out. We appreciate your time, and when 9.0 drops, we'll see about maybe having you back, and we can do a reveal from your side of how things have gone.
Yeah, I'd love that. Let me know.
All right. Anything from anybody else? Jamie. Okay. Well, let's say bye to the people. Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.